People often look at someone with autism and feel sorry for them, as if they have been scorned with a deadly disease or have two heads or they're lesser than. But the truth is that autism simply means a whole person who thinks and functions differently. And while there are many foundations up and research being done for autism, I often feel the forgotten party are the parents of those with autism. People take their kids to Marvel movies to find superheroes, but I've always known that I've had the privilege to know one up close and personal, my aunt. In the age of social media, you hear everyone talk about how hard life is, how hard being an entrepreneur is, how hard being a parent is. But the people who are struggling and going through hardship don't have time to complain. My cousin Nicole is the only autistic person of my generation in my family, and my aunt has dedicated her life to serving her. Just imagine carrying a child for 10 months, and when they are born, you have a sigh of relief. The doctor announces the sex of the child and tells you they have 10 fingers and 10 toes. You continue your dreams of what they will look like at prom, how many grandkids they will give you. And then a few years later, you find out they have autism. And all of a sudden, you're no longer dreaming of high school and grandkids. Your goals become way more short-term, like, how can I make them happy tomorrow? How do I make them functional in a world that doesn't accept them and their seemingly odd habits? You start to notice people staring at you and looking at you weird when you're in public, and all of a sudden, going outside of the house doesn't seem so fun. Many parents raising autistic children stay in the house. Not only does it serve as the place where their child feels most comfortable, it starts to serve as the place where the parent feels most comfortable. Their safe haven away from the world that has already created a cookie-cutter definition of what it means to be normal. They don't look for great leaps and bounds of success. They count the small things as huge accomplishments. My cousin doesn't process things like hugs and affection the way that we do. But Nicole can cook for herself, gets herself dressed, listens to music, and loves playing in people's hair. And I'm sure with every task my cousin was able to take off my aunt's plate and add to hers, that my aunt was filled with pride. The same pride a parent gets when their child walks across the stage at graduation or down the aisle for their wedding. They find accomplishments in other areas. And even with the many signs of independence, still, they worry. They worry about what will happen to their child if they aren't around. And even more scary, what will happen to their child when they, the parent, are no longer on this side. Who will take care of their children? Who will take care of the parent? In the typical circle of life, a parent takes care of their children, and in time, the child returns the favor and takes care of the parent. But how does that circle complete itself for the autistic parent? Who will take care of them in their old age? Who will take care of their child in their old age? Will anyone take care of their child like them? Will anyone understand their child like them? Will anyone love their child like them? A parent's number one job is to show a child that they are loved and make them feel safe. In a perfect world, as a parent, you raise your child the best you can, and they tell you things like, "Thanks, Mom. I love you, Mom. Can I get a hug, Mom?" But for my aunt, all of those kinds of affections are not displayed. There's no random I love yous. There's no appreciation gifts. There's no one to tell you, "You're doing a good job." Day in and day out, you wake up with your child being your number one priority, knowing there's no trophy coming. There's no bystander that's going to come and give you a pat on the back. You're in the dark, doing your best with no guidebooks and very little support. Because who can relate? Which family member can you turn to and ask, "Hey, my daughter's not eating today. What experience do you have with that?" There's no family member to sit down and cry on their shoulder and throw up your arms and say, "Help me." You're alone. You're alone in a world filled with people, and all of your focus and attention is your child. That dream you had of opening up your own practice, gone. That dream you had of grandkids, gone. That dream you had of raising your child and then retiring to a beach house, gone. Your child becomes your life. And in a way that sounds similar, but looks very different from the average parent, that child becomes your joy. They are literally your heart beating outside of you. And you pray at the end of it all that they know they are loved, and that when you're gone, someone is there to continue loving them. When you did this makeover on Nicole, it went viral among my family members, well, at least our cell phones. All of us cousins almost cried. We got a glimpse of Nicole, and for once, she wasn't Nicole, our autistic cousin. She was just our cousin Nicole. She told me that she didn't want to wash off her face. She was forced outside of her comfort zone, and she ended up feeling comfortable. I hope more autistic people are pushed outside of their comfort zone. You never know what miraculous things they'll do when they are. You never know how they'll act outside of their house until they're pushed to be outside of their house. Yes, autism awareness is important, and it makes all the difference when people with a platform use that platform to make a difference. Because the more we know and hear about autism, the more understanding the world becomes. Maybe one day you'll see more autistic people in the supermarket because their home is no longer the only place they feel comfortable, where the world becomes so aware and so understanding that everywhere serves as a safe haven for them to be free to be themselves.